Greetings to all in the love and light of the one infinite creator, and welcome to the Seattle Law of One podcast. Today's episode is on angels and archangels. According to multiple polls, about 70% of Americans do believe in angels, and it seems angels have been part of almost every culture's religious or spiritual beliefs in some form. And our friends in the Confederation have assured us many times that each of us are always surrounded by angels and angelic beings who want nothing more than to help us do what we came to this incarnation to do. So who or what exactly are angels and archangels, and how can we work with the angelic beings who have chosen to help us in this incarnation? Let's find out. My name is Jonathan Tong, and I'm facilitator for the Seattle Law of One study group. We can be found in the list of study groups on the LNL research page shown on your screen. We do also have a Facebook page, and we do meet twice a week on Zoom. Tuesdays from 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific time, Saturdays 8 to 10 a.m. Pacific time. You don't have to live in Seattle or anywhere near Seattle to join our Facebook group or join our Zoom sessions. Anyone who's interested and available is welcome. Just contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com to get on our mailing list. We send out emails once a week to let you know what we're doing that week and the Zoom links as well. We do also have a YouTube channel where we have recordings of previous podcast episodes, as well as Q&A sessions with Jim McCarty, Austin Bridges, Gary Bean, and Tricia Bean of the LNL Research Channeling team. Again, you can contact us at seattlelawofone@gmail.com if you would like to join us for any of those Q&A sessions. If you're watching any of these on your television, they're divided into chapters, so you can skip ahead by chapters if you don't want to watch the whole thing from beginning to end. If you're watching on your computer or your phone, below the title of the video, you should see a list of topics and timestamps. So again, you can skip around as you wish. Otherwise, today, as I mentioned, our episode is about angels and archangels. Let's go ahead and meet our panelists. Panelists, would you introduce yourself to our viewers with your name and where you're calling from, starting with Jonathan?
Hey, how's it going? My name is Dr. Jonathan Locust. I go by Dr. J. I'm calling from Tampa, Florida, and am super excited to be here today.
Dr. J, we are so happy to have you back. Elaine?
Hey, my name's Elaine Lucia, and I'm calling from Santa Rosa, California. So happy to be here with all of you. I love this topic.
We'd love to have you here, Elaine. Diane?
Hi, I'm Diane Culhane from Stoughton, Massachusetts, and also love angels, and I know they love us, so that's good.
Indeed. I know each of you have a lot of personal experience working with angelic beings, and looking forward to hearing your stories. But I did want to remind our viewers that none of us here are authorities or experts on the law of one or on angels. We are just normal people like you, hanging out, sharing our thoughts on spiritual things that seem to be important to us. Anything that we say could be wrong, and you are welcome to disagree with anything or everything that anybody here says. If you are already familiar with the law of one and the entity known as Quo, you may want to skip ahead to the chapter on angels all around you. If you are not familiar with either of those, here are a few things that might help everything else we're saying today make more sense. What is the law of one? You could say that it is a set of spiritual teachings based on the understanding that all is one and that one thing is love. Pretty much everything we're reading today, everything that we're saying today is just some variation of that statement. All the spiritual teachings that we're looking at have come to us through the process of channeling. You can think of channeling as a form of telepathic communication between humans and entities such as angelic beings, extraterrestrial beings, spirits of deceased, higher self, interplanes entities, etc. A channel basically serves as a mouthpiece for other entities to speak through. There are two types of channeling that have been done by our friends at L&L Research. Trance channeling is when the channel is in a trance state, subconscious or unconscious as if asleep. They are not aware of what is being said. This is how the raw contact was done back in the early 80s by Carla Ruckert. Conscious channeling is when the channel is in a conscious but deep meditative state, meaning they are somewhat aware of what is being said. This is how the Quo contact has been done. So who is Quo? You could say that Quo is a group entity made up of three social memory complexes: Ra at sixth density, Latui at fifth density, and Hatan at fourth density. What is a social memory complex? You could say it's a planetary consciousness. It would be as if the entire human population of Earth was merged into one group mind. It is apparently our next step in human evolution. What are densities? You can think of densities as different levels of consciousness, different levels of reality. If you can imagine that the elements of earth, fire, water, and air have some form of consciousness, whatever that is, we call that first density. You could think of whatever consciousness plants and animals have as second density. Clearly a quantum leap in consciousness beyond that of what we might call inanimate matter. Third density, you could say, is the consciousness of humans and cetaceans like whales and dolphins. Again, another quantum leap above the consciousness of plants and animals. Fourth density would be the next quantum leap to the social memory complex, the consciousness of an entire human planetary population or an entire planetary population merged into one consciousness. That's fourth density. Fifth density is whatever would be a comparable quantum leap above that. Sixth density is whatever would be a comparable quantum leap above fifth density. And then it just seems to go on until the end of one octave and then into the next octave and into infinity. We will have another episode on densities and dimensions in the not too distant future, and we'll do a more in-depth analysis of that. Suffice it to say at this point, Quo is a group entity that's made up of three planetary consciousnesses or social memory complexes at sixth, fifth, and fourth density. The first contact with Quo was made by the LNL research channeling team in 1986, almost 2 years after the end of the Ra contact in 1984. And they have been channeled every month since then up to the present day by the LNL research channeling team. Transcripts can be found in the LNL research conscious channeling library. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at some passages relating to the understanding that angels are all around you at all times. Our first passage was from February 12th, 2011. It has been edited for brevity. Here, Quo said, angels are love. Angels are love responsible for realms in a hierarchical manner. There are those who work with your sub-logos, the sun, in creating the archetypical mind, and the blueprint for the densities in this particular creation. There are angels who are attracted to vibrations and flock to those whose vibration are beautiful to them. You may not feel beautiful, dear ones, especially when you are struggling, yet to those who vibrate in unconditional love, the qualities of one who is seeking to learn and to serve are irresistible. It takes a great deal of courage to persist in spiritual preoccupation, and each of you is very beautiful to us and to the angels. There are two basic energies which angels have to offer. One is the simple energy of love itself, and the other is a feeling of safety, which could be called a healing energy. Both of those aspects are the resources which angels have to offer. Angels also have connections with the four elements and the four directions, so that as you become more and more aware of the correspondences between certain archangels and certain energies, certain powers and certain directions, you become more able to cleanse your habitation or the area around you with the help of the archangels. As this instrument mentioned before the meditation began, it is critical, if you wish to work with the angels, to thank them and to ask them to participate in your life, to be with you and to share their love and their healing and their feeling of safety. If you do not ask them, they cannot break free will. Therefore, it is important to remember each day to thank the angels that are around you and to ask them to continue helping you. I have two more passages I'd like to read through. First, the next one is from December 29th, 2007. Quo said, help is all around you. We cannot emphasize that enough. There are angelic presences all around you that have been attracted by your purity of desire and intentions. They wish nothing more than to help you achieve the goals that you have set for yourself this day. And do not forget to ask nature to help you. For that too is a kingdom of the Father. The very ground loves you beyond all telling. The air, the trees, all that there is in the kingdom of the Father is dancing with you and inviting you to join in that wonderful, harmonious rhythm of the dance of the one. And one more passage from November 24th, 2002. Quo said, "When you wish help, the only bar to that help is the lack of solid knowing that help is available. It is much more difficult for interplanes entities to aid humankind if the human is not aware of or calling upon that help. Consequently, we encourage each never to spend the time wondering if such help is available. In our opinion, the universe is literally bursting at the seams with energy and information, and all of it desires to be known. All of it desires to be used. It is at the point of reception by the third density biological entities that the problems occur. A large amount of help goes unused because it is unasked for and unregarded. Much help from the higher angelic realms is only available to those who ask, for as the energies become more refined and the intelligence is more full of the infinite creator, there is an increasing responsibility for preserving the free will of the fragile third density human entities who are moving through this choice-making density. How greatly each entity's guidance system wishes to help. We give this instrument the image of a dozen angels sitting all about the living room on curtain rods and windowsills and the tops of bookcases, just hoping and waiting to be asked." So beautiful. I just love the imagery of a dozen angels sitting all around you. You who are sitting there watching this on your screen, all around you, visualize that there's dozens of angels sitting around on your curtain rods and your windowsills, just waiting for you to ask them for help, because the free will part is so important. The angels are always around, but they're going to respect your free will and they're not going to help you unless you ask. So that would be a big takeaway lesson.
It sounds like a casting call.
It does, doesn't it? It's beautiful. Dr. J, do you have any thoughts, reflections on anything here?
Yeah, so not only do I really appreciate all of those readings, but the study of angels were really, I would say, helpful into my transition of really, I would say my transition from a very stark Pentecostal background. My father's still a Pentecostal bishop. So my study of angels really provided, I would say, a bridge for me to not only learn, but even for me to go back and talk to my father and explain, and to at least try to find a harmony between some of the things that I believe, which are now different from what he believes. And it really all started, I would say, once I started reading the Law of One, and Don asked about the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, the LBRP. And once they mentioned, which I was not familiar with the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Once I started looking at the LBRP, I looked up to who the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was, and I joined. And that was essentially my inroad into not only learning about angels, but studying, working with, and so forth. So my first, just kind of to set that overlay and being cognizant of time, when they talked about just being in a hierarchical manner, some of the teachings that are discussed is that I thought was just to understand the vastness, but the beauty is how each of the angels, as Quo mentions, are associated with not only the different directions, but the different elements. And within those different elements that are correlated with the particular signs, there's a hierarchy of angels that are there too, that are universal. So not only here, but that also have representation throughout the universe, throughout the different signs. And then you start to see, well, if they are attracted to our personality, just like we have friends, the different personalities and different variations that they have as angels that are attracted to us. And one of the things too that some of the teachings within the Golden Dawn, where they talk about the four archangels, or how they would mention them as the four angelic princes, And under them, they would have 5 presidential angels or guardian angels, which would have six senior angels under them, 4 presidential good angels, and then 4 principal angels under them, and how that they govern all different things and different types. So I'll pass it on, but I'll just say, just from me being able to understand and study angels, and then understand the vastness of some of the things they oversee, supervise, that can then correlate to their personality, it's like there's no wonder why they are not only, they're universal, but they are also attracted to particular intentions, particular personalities in need of help and service.
Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing up the hierarchical part. It reminds me of that passage that I highlighted on the screen, where they said the universe is literally bursting at the seams with energy and information, and all of it desires to be known. All of it desires to be used. There's other passages, I don't think I included in for this session, where they did talk about what you just spoke of, which is the hierarchy of all these different orders and suborders of angels that are all have different vibrations, different specialties, different things that they do. They're kind of like the Freemasons, I guess, basically. Yeah. Freemasons of heaven. Very hierarchical. Yeah. Elaine, did you have any thoughts, reflections on anything?
Oh, I'm just, that was wonderful, Dr. J. I'm glad you mentioned the hierarchical nature of this as well, because um, it's so comforting to know that there are just trillions of angels surrounding our planet. So on a global level, knowing that they are literally watching over us and wanting to help us, and just waiting for us to ask them for that help. And then on the personal heart level, they're there too. So they pervade every density, every level of the universe. It's so comforting. And also, when you mentioned that you grew up in the Pentecostal church, I grew up in the Roman Catholic Church, and there was some talk of angels, Christmas time, of course, and mention of your guardian angels and the archangels. But I didn't really there was other information from the church that kind of overshadowed that. Like, I didn't connect with the angels at that time because I was just terrified of the church. you know and it really wasn't until the Law of One that I really understood the entities of pure love that angels are. And I just want everyone to know about it, and so yeah, that was beautiful how you described that. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I really, what you're speaking of reminds me of that part in the first paragraph from the first passages of there are angels who are attracted to vibrations and flock to those whose vibrations are beautiful to them. You may not feel beautiful, dear ones, especially when you're struggling. Yet to those who vibrate in unconditional love, the qualities of one who is seeking to learn and to serve are irresistible. Each of you is very beautiful to us and to the angels. Such a beautiful thing to bear in mind. And remember that all of this came through the process of channeling. The person who was speaking these words was in a really deep meditative state and might have had an idea of what words were coming in one sentence and maybe an idea of what was coming in the next sentence. Otherwise, they had no idea what was going to happen a couple sentences from now. And I don't know anybody alive or who's ever been alive, if you asked them to talk about angels, would talk like this. It's just wherever this is coming from are very advanced spiritual entities
Yes.
that are full of love. They're not creepy or scary like you might think of extraterrestrials from watching Hollywood movies, but they are angelic beings who actually want to help us. And that's just a beautiful thing. Diane, did you have any thoughts, reflections on anything here?
Oh, I just love all of this. I could spend years on it. I do have a very strong feeling of angels. I've had many interactions with angels, and sometimes I've actually just been stunned. I go back and something will be appearing before me, and it's incredible. I have desired after an NDE to experience divine love again, like that. That divine love is so enormous, so big. And I've learned to, I've gotten closer to it when angels are around. That's what it feels like. And when you see this and it says angels are love, it was like, of course, that's why I feel that layers and layers of love when the angels are around, because they are vibrating closer to God, and God is love. Duh. It just flipped. But I will say to this, I grew up with angels in my life too, so to have them so strong now, I it's just a progression. But I grew up very Catholic, but I grew up in the mystical side of Catholicism. And angels were there. And, and the nun might see you not vibrating correctly and would come up and say, "What are you thinking?" And if it required a little assistance, and you didn't have to answer, but if it required a little assistance, they would remind you, well, ask an angel. They're right there. They're listening. Are you asking? And then you were supposed to go on and continue with the thought and conversation in your mind. So it became a second nature way of living anyway. But when I started with depth of emotion, seeking things, boy, does stuff come if you're vibrating high and if what you're seeking. So I think also the level of intensity of emotion you have for that intention, and to be able to just let it go, put it out there and let it go, and then watch the magic. But that I will go back to, my biggest thing is, oh my God, those first words, angels are love. Of course they are. They are an energetic force, and it's all love. Oh my God, it's beautiful.
It is. Indeed. Yeah, and the idea that they are drawn to you in proportion to the purity of your seeking makes a lot of sense, and perhaps a good inspiration to those to continue seeking how to be of service to others. I had a couple passages wanted to look at related to guardian angels and guidance systems. Before we do that, anybody on the panel had any other thoughts, reflections wanted to share about these first passages we've looked at? If not, yes, let us look at a few passages on guardian angels and guidance systems. The first passage is from January 15th, 1989, and this was from Latwii. Latwii, again, is one of the three social memory complexes that generally make up Quo, and they are at fifth density. The questioner asked, are we being guided by entities from other densities? Do we have some form of guardian angel, as we would say here? I am Latwii, and am aware of your query, my brother. Each portion of what you have spoken is in some degree correct. It is true for each within your illusion that the first guide or guardian is a portion of the self which has been called by many names, some of which are the higher self, the oversoul, or that which overshadows the small self within incarnation. This is a portion of the self that is far more clearly a part of the creation and the creator, and which exists at what you would call a higher level of vibration, having, shall we say, the overview or the roadmap which describes the territory which shall be covered, but which does not guide to the point of overriding the free will of the entity, but with the cooperation of the entity within the incarnation, plans before the incarnation the general nature of the journey which shall be experienced, and during the incarnation may, with the assistance of others, provide the entity within the incarnation the opportunities, the stimuli, shall we say, that will remind it of that which it has come to accomplish. Many times there is the meeting with just the right person at just the right time, or the presentation of the appropriate book or program on your television or on any system of instruction which leads the entity in a manner which will allow it to travel as it has wished to travel and to learn that which it has wished to learn. Each entity has, besides the higher self, a male guide, a female-oriented guide, and that which may be called somewhat of an androgynous guide. That is, that which has blended the polarities and has found balance in the blend. There are, as well, various friends which have been drawn to the entity according to the nature of the seeking which the entity has expressed and experienced in incarnation after incarnation. Some of these friends are as the entity, however, they are at the time of the incarnation discarnate themselves and serve as guides, shall we say, that may speak in concept, image, and symbol within the sleep and dreaming state or within the meditative state. There are many entities which are drawn to assist each entity within the incarnation so that all possible opportunities for learning may be taken advantage of without the imposing of any choice that would override the free will of the entity during the incarnation. For it is the exercise of this free will that is of paramount importance as the entity chooses its steps within the incarnation. Really fascinating passage. And I suppose the big takeaway lesson for me from this would be that what we might refer to as our guardian angel could also be referred to as your higher self. That is your future self, like in mid-sixth density, who has already gone through, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of millions of incarnations, all the way from first, second, third, fourth, fifth, up to sixth density, so that this entity, your higher self or your guardian angel, plans out your incarnation. Everything in your incarnation, from your birth to your death and everything in between, is planned out. Not in exact detail, as they're saying, it's more like an overview or of a roadmap that shows what's to be covered. But how exactly you get through there is still up to your free will. But again, you have those angels to help you through when you need the help. Elaine, did you have any thoughts on this or guardian angels?
Oh my gosh, I have so many thoughts. And as you were reading this, a memory just popped up when I was 15. And I raised Roman Catholic, very devout Italian Roman Catholic, family. But I wasn't vibrating with it. I received in the mail the book Seth Speaks and the Seth material. And I was growing up in upstate New York, and I received it from my father's sister, my aunt, who was living in a commune in Northern California. And she sent me this book. And I- obviously my higher self and maybe her higher self kind of got together and said, send this book to Elaine. And it just blew my mind. And I was a teenager, and just, wow, I can create my own reality. So I'm up for
Yes,
that, you know, and that's what set me on my spiritual seeking path at such a young age. And if it weren't for my pre-incarnative plan with my higher self, I mean, who knows if I would have ever come into contact with that book that set me on this path. Um, and then also about the higher self, the first gathering that we had at CBEC in Seattle, uh, one of the mornings, I found myself sitting on the edge of the bed in the morning, and I had a vision, like Diane, you're describing, of myself being embraced by my higher self. And my higher self was a light being. And I was watching this kind of from behind, watching myself being embraced by my higher self. And and I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh, that's my higher self. Wow." And then I sort of woke up or came to, and I don't remember waking up from sleep. I don't remember sitting on the edge of the bed. And I thought, am I dreaming? Was this a dream? But it felt so real and so incredible. And like you're saying, Diane, just pure divine love. And I was affected the whole day. I was just kind of in this like fog, this beautiful fog of love, and
Mm.
later felt like that was my higher self just kind of saying, "You're in the right place. This is good. Keep going," you know, and we're here. I'm here for you. And yeah, so it was our higher self, our guardian angel, whatever you want to call it. They are, as Koel says, closer to you than your breath, you know, as the infinite creator is. So yeah, it's just beautiful.
What a beautiful story. What a beautiful sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm
Mhm.
willing to bet there are quite a few people watching this who have had similar experiences. Certainly, that experience of getting the right book at the right time or the chance meeting with somebody who ended up making a big difference in your life. I'm guessing everybody on the Zoom call can relate to that. And I'm guessing many people watching this have had similar experiences. And it's a beautiful affirmation of the whole process. Diane,
Mhm.
any thoughts, reflections on guardian angels or this passage?
Oh my God, yes. Well, one thing, if you're trying to figure it out and you've never really, is that really going on? When you've asked for something, just wait expectantly. Don't try to make it happen, but observe synchronicity and don't discount it.
Mhm.
Because the more you observe it, the more you get it. And the more you get it, the more you get, if
Mhm.
that makes sense. But Elaine, oh my God. Yeah, I think I was there with you a little bit. Thank you. Um, I guess I do want to share something. I have spoken about an incident that happened that rattled me to a point where I stopped doing distance healings and things until I understand this. And I'm thinking I'm understanding this. I was in Utah. I was driving along on a road I did not know, and I heard a voice. And this is something that happens. I made a commitment to assist people who are suicidal, and I get sent places. Haven't been since I asked it to stop. And it said, get off at exit 18. I'm going to exit 30 and I don't even know where I am. Get off at exit 18. Now I approach exit 18. Get off at exit 18. All right. I get off. I was led to the right place. Couple of stops and my phone, not here. Oh, okay. And then you are here. Okay. And I went in. And when I went in, it was a restaurant. I got to eat. Okay. And I often wonder who's talking to me. Is it my higher self? Is it an angel? What's going on? But I listen. And when I walked in, the waitress who had come up to seat me seemed off. And I had said, and she said, I'm only here because somebody told me I'm supposed to talk to a lady. And I said, well, perhaps I'm the lady. And I asked to sit way over there because I was alone in this big restaurant. Went to the ladies' room, came back, and she said, um, hi, my name is, and she wrote her name on the linen tablecloth in ink and said, I want somebody to remember that name. And I went, okay, now I know why I'm here. And she started talking, and in her conversation, and this is now another angel, her conversation was, I had no intention of being here today. I wasn't coming to work today. And then that big giant angel came in my dream and said, get up, get dressed, go to work, talk to the lady. So
Mm.
I got up and I got dressed and I was thinking, And this is her, she hasn't asked me, given me a menu or anything. This is boom. And she said, I stood there trying to wonder, why am I all dressed for work? And I heard her again. The angel was there again in saying, go to work, talk to the lady. So here I am at work. And again, I said, perhaps I'm the lady. And meanwhile, what? An angel came to her in her dream, and then an angel came to her while she was just got dressed, she's wide awake, and she's telling me this angel comes and now is directing her to go. And I heard this, oh my God, oh my God. And I got scared. And I got very frightened that I was not up to the task. What it seemed to me, this was enormous and she needed to be saved. I was afraid I would say the wrong thing. So I started praying in my head as she then sat down in front of me at this fancy restaurant. The waitress was sitting there going, and she started telling me the difficulty, all the catalyst that was around her to lead her to be in a negative place. And I was now screaming in my head, please don't let me speak through my ego. Please don't let me speak through my ego. And then I got very demanding. You can't put this on me. This is too much. You have to speak through me. I know you can do it. I've seen other people. This is in my head. I have seen other people. I demand that you speak through me now. Next thing I know is my consciousness went like this. Physically could feel it go to the back of my head. And I was completely aware, but like I was in a cloud, that I was having a conversation. I have no idea what I said, but I knew it was profound. I have no idea what she was saying. Everything was almost like rushing water. That's all I could hear, but I could feel everything. And then at a point, my consciousness came in reverse from back here, and I was more and more present until I was present right here. And I looked at her, and all I could say, because I'm staring at her, and I will explain what I was staring at. I'm staring at her, and I said, oh my God, you have the most beautiful energy. Wow. And what I was seeing, and I think because I had just come back from wherever I was energy around her. And I just realized as I was thinking about this, it was in the actual shape of wings. It came out, it wasn't like she was in a bubble of this love. It's that love. It was that angelic love. But it was like it was coming like around her, like a Taurus or wings. It's like wings. It was wings. It was like, that's the only thing. I can see why people say that when they see a light being that they have wings. And it was the energy that I could see and feel. And actually, I would call it a feel. I could feel that energy. I was mesmerized. And then things worked out very well. And we had some conversation afterwards, and I still don't know what she said, but I gave her my card because I had written the name of a book I thought might be interesting for her to read on how our thoughts affect what's around us. And I started to walk out of the restaurant, and she called me from across the restaurant by name because it's on my card. And I turned around and she said, I just want you to know. Oh, she paid my bill. And then I said, what am I, the millionth customer? She said, no, it's the least I can do for the person who saved my life today. But I don't know what the conversation was. So when I was walking out the restaurant, that's when she called me by my name. and she's reading my card, and she's looking at me, and she's reading my card, and she says, I just want you to know you're going to see me again someday. And I still don't understand that. I don't know if it was, I don't know what that was. But there were so many angels involved in that. They were involved in her life. They were watching over her. They found me in Utah, riding down the road. Oh, we got one. She said she'll have, that vibration. The antennas is something that connect. I've still processing that.
I can imagine. How long ago was that, Diane?
2 years.
2 years, recently.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a powerful story. I know you have shared that before, at least once or twice in our Zoom sessions, and it always chokes me up every time.
But what I will say is, now the directions are loud and clear, but they weren't always loud and clear, but I always listened. And that's why I say synchronicity. The first time you do something, you go, hey, no, that didn't just happen. Well, yeah, it did.
Yeah, like everything else, I think the more you do it, the easier it gets, kind of like working on a muscle. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that beautiful story. And I know all three of you have stories to share, and I'm really looking forward to hearing them. And just a warning to our viewers, this episode might be a little bit longer than the typical ones, but I hope you agree it's worth it. And I didn't tell my panelists this, but it's December 4th today, but I believe we'll be uploading this episode about a week or so before Christmas. So it's a
wow.
beautiful Christmas time message as well for all. Dr. J, did you have any thoughts, reflections, stories on guardian angels you wanted to share?
Yeah, well, I would just say for one, Diane, wonderful, just wonderful. Sure, thank you for sharing that, and Elaine too. Just even receiving that book, I thought that was just that was phenomenal. And I'll just kind of just share maybe like two quick stories. One of them, there was when I was in higher education, I also taught, so I teach graduate classes. And there was a lady who worked in the recreation department, which and I had just finished up my past life regression about a week or two prior to actually talking to her. So I'm in this state of my mind to where I'm like, okay, I just found out I was a white corn farmer. It's all of these things are still there, and still also dealing with how I died and all of these other things. But so it's really fresh on my mind. Well, something ends up happening that kind of prompted me to share that, because it's not something I was just go around just sharing often, but it was something that prompted me to actually share that. So I shared this story with her, and she goes back, and she was just getting ready to retire, but she talked about how when I shared that story, it made her think about certain abilities she had when she was a kid and had put them away because of particular kind of religious beliefs and perspectives that were not necessarily in alignment with what she had experienced. So she put them away. And kind of fast forward to when I had ended up leaving the institution, one of the things she bought me were some of the channeling sessions that she had listened to when she was a kid, that she had ended up pulling away to kind of have that moment. So that in regard to listening, when those kind of instances and those nudges, I think those really are those angelic beings working in communication and in tandem, just like they were in Diane's situation, just like they were in Elaine's situation. And then I also think about too, even when I got to the point to where I found and learned about the law of one, it was still kind of difficult for me to read it because I'm still coming from this super religious Pentecostal perspective. And so I'm having a time grappling with, I'm like, it's so beautiful, I can't put it down, but am I blasphemous? Am I wrong for doing this? So I'm having these different things. And I called one of my mentors, Dr. McKnight, who taught me all of my research things, who's on my thesis committee and dissertation committee, but also a very spiritual person. And I'm talking to him about it. And he just said to me, like, well, maybe the Bible isn't what you're looking for right now. Well, okay, so I have this, it completely kind of alters and changes my perspective. I have that moment, and I'm always kind of thought like, he's been so helpful for me in these times. He must be some type of angel or something. Well, I fast forward a few years after that, I have my past life regression. I ended up having a very lonely death. I died in around my 80s, no family, no friends, not even a funeral. So it was very, very difficult death. So as I'm rising above my body, I notice a number of different things, but I get to, we'll call it the spirit world. And as I'm walking in there, I'm still feeling those vibrations of loneliness. Well, I see a group of 10 entities there, and the one I see there is Oscar, Dr. McKnight, the one who told me the Bible isn't necessarily what you're looking for. And they surrounded me. And as they surrounded me, it got me thinking about what Diane was saying about how, and even Elaine, how they're pure love. And that close proximity to pure love, just with any vibration, changes the environment. And as they started to surround me, they started to then elevate my vibration by me just knowing that all of these different things that I had kind of forgotten in that life, and from dying and the loneliness, they elevated the vibration. And even as I think about angels who are sitting on my stool or even sitting behind there just waiting for my help, they're also waiting to enhance and uplift and increase the vibration.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's also a good reminder that angels are sometimes an incarnate form, in the form of physical people that we might meet who might help us in a restaurant, or in your situation, a mentor. It's a beautiful story.
Mhm.
And as long as we're talking about church and conservative Christians and such, yeah, I did want to highlight this part of the passage here where they were talking about how each entity has three guides, apparently a male guide, a female guide, and that which may be called somewhat androgynous guide. And I know they have said that more than a few times, and that's something that I always think of when I think of people who identify as LGBTQ plus. Or non-binary, and how many of them, of course, have had to struggle with families, parents who are not accepting, churches who are not accepting. And when I read this passage, it makes me think of those folks as maybe those are more advanced spiritual beings who have come down here incarnated to show us what life is actually like beyond this binary 3D world. So I wanted to assure any of our viewers who identify as LGBTQ that we value you very much, and we love you and respect you for who you are. And you are always welcome in our group. We would love to have you hang out with us if you wish.
And I'll just,
go ahead.
Jonathan, real quick, I'll just mention as you say that, one of the things that when I was in Wisconsin and Minnesota, I worked with those Shetty Shakoween, indigenous people, and their view of androgynous is completely different than the US's perspective. And even if you look at what they would look at, two-spirited beings being able to harness both both energies, is a more well-balanced being. So I think there are real lessons for our culture by looking at those indigenous teachings of different people that we have shunned.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure. And I think as we go farther and farther into fourth density, we are really being forced to confront things that we have kind of put aside before. Because as we've been told, fourth density light has more truth to it. And it's harder to hide things that we used to hide. So all of these hang-ups we've had with sexuality for millennia, they're really coming back again and making us look at them and accept them with love. Let's take a look at a few passages related to what has been referred to as our guidance system. From this passage, this was from May 15th, 2005. Quo said, "You have a great guidance system The problem entities have with their guidance system is that it must be activated. It is an entity that is yourself at a future time in terms of your third density physics. It is yourself in the midst of sixth density. This is the higher self that they were referring to earlier. This instrument calls her guidance system the Holy Spirit, or Holly. Other entities call their guidance system a guidance system, or their guru, or any of a number of other constructions in which guidance is explained one way or another. But it is actually quite a complex web of entities. Certainly chief among them is the creator-driven version of yourself moving back to you from sixth density. But you have picked up many entities from the inner planes, as this instrument would call them, who have been attracted to you because of the beauty of your faith and hope, or because of the kind of mission that you came into incarnation to pursue, or for any of a number of other reasons, resulting in the opinion of inner planes entities that you are a person they would like to help. They range from tiny children who simply want to help you find lost things to the most wonderful and complex personalities, masters, gurus, or entities of that type from various of the inner planes that have been drawn to you because they feel they might be able to prove to be a resource in your own process. On March 6, 2005, Quo said, "Be assured that you have an extended family of what this instrument would call angels and beings that have worked with you before, that rest around you continuously and bolster you on every side, before and behind, above and beneath. You rest in a web of love." On December 19th, 2009, Quo said, "There are orders upon orders of the angelic hosts who move into the orbit, shall we say, of those humans who have chosen to become magical and who have chosen to vibrate in ways that are congruent with that particular order of angel. So you will have angelic companions, whether you wish to heal, to teach, to create in the outer ways of poetry and music and dance, or whether, as is the highest of those higher raised goals, you wish to create a self-aware beingness so that you can be in all situations, not only when you are quiet, but when you are busy and when the world about you is chaotic. Many, many are the angelic presences that wish to aid you in smoothing out and making more stable those environments, those vibratory environments in which lie the radiance of being, channeling, teaching, dancing, singing, healing." And on May 18th, 2003, Quo said, "For each of you is a very special and eccentric kind of energy ball that draws to it because of its beauty, entities from the inner planes, which this instrument would call angelic, which wish to help. They wish to help with gifts of spiritual presence, inspiration, laughter, healing, and any number of invisible yet very real sub-rays of that sun of love, that logos of unconditional and infinite love. They will not aid in doing more chores more quickly, but rather the help, when remembered, is as that blessing which pours like rain upon the thirsty soul, smoothing and washing away the corrosive acid of catalyst and offering the healing balm, the inner touch of that company which touches the heart, enters the heart, and settles there, spreading like the balm of Gilead, the feeling that all is well. In the midst of this chaos, all is well." Certainly reminds me of what Jonathan was talking about earlier in the podcast about the orders and orders of angelic hosts who are attracted to people who vibrate with a similar vibration to those angelic beings. Really just super beautiful, so much to unpack here. Diane, did you have any thoughts on anything from anything here?
Well, the first thought that came to my mind was, when the student is ready, the master will appear. And these are the guys that'll bring the master to you. So then trust that. I call my guidance system Yumi, and be you, me.
Aw,
So
I thought it was Japanese or something.
I love that.
it's Yumi. Sometimes
Beautiful.
Yumi will say, and sometimes actually I'll get a weird thought, and I'm going, why did I think that? And I'll be me, you. Oh, okay. So
Funny.
we do have, it is that. So I find it having a name helpful, but I also never want to offend anybody. And I'll say, and all my physical, non-physical friends, just I don't want to leave anybody out. But
Indeed.
yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Guidance system to me sounds a little bit mechanical. Sounds like that thing that's used in guided missiles to destroy things. So I think calling it something else like you is a great idea. Dr. J, any thoughts on anything here?
Yeah, well, as far as I thought that was I like that story about just like having a name for it, your guidance system. I would say as far as I really appreciated how they talked about it's really a complex web of entities that is not only kind of like your higher self, sixth density self, kind of spearheading that, but just also all the friends and buddies you've gained over all these different incarnations. And that's just the coolest thing, that you got this group that's just always there to help you out, that have these different perspectives that could just really be of service to you. So I really appreciated that piece, in it is as well. So that would be what I wanted to add. And there was one more, I think it's in there. Only.
Sorry. Yeah, I threw about 4 different passages at you on this one. Sorry about that.
Well, and then
Is it the last passage here?
yes, right there, right there. So also I've as I've been like kind of, I would say, calling on my angels more, I really appreciated this one part that says they would not aid in doing more chores more quickly. And then because that's been helpful, because I'm like, okay, what is the intention of why I'm actually calling them? Now I know that they're there, so I have to make sure I'm calling them with the high vibrational intention. But I just really thought that part of what Quo says about smoothing and washing away the corrosive acid and catalyst, and offering that healing balm, which is just again, I think is just really beautiful. So those would be my only thoughts.
Beautiful indeed. Yeah. Yeah, and that part you were speaking about at the beginning reminds me of here, extended family of what this instrument would call angels and beings that have worked with you before. So they're not just angels that you happen to run across in this incarnation, but if you can remember, there are probably angels that have worked with you in previous incarnations as well, and are waiting for you to remember to pick up where you left off, perhaps. Elaine, did you have any
Mm,
thoughts, reflections on anything here?
yeah, I love that extended family, uh, just the feeling of it, and you rest in a web of love. So you're just it's like home. It's like your heart, your mm, soul, your path, your many incarnations are that unique spark of the one infinite creator that's like no other. And it's your home, and you have this extended family who've been with you through these all of these millions of years of incarnations. They really know you. They love you so much. And you are rested. You're resting in that web of, I just have this visualization of the arms of the angels, all of them holding you in that web of love. And it's just like, if we can just remind ourselves all the time, which I do, that they are there, and we have to thank them for that service and their love. Um, and to also call on them when we need when we need them. And they're there, and they always have been. It's just so beautiful because, yeah, the world is just so so chaotic, and that loneliness that Dr. J talked about, we ultimately do leave our incarnations alone. Some of us are surrounded by our loved ones in this incarnation, but many are not. But it's very comforting to know that if that's how you choose to leave the incarnation, your angels will be there with you, if no one else. Yeah.
It is a
Just
really
so,
beautiful, comforting thing.
yeah. Hmm.
I love the wording and the part that's highlighted here. They will not aid in doing chores more quickly, but when remembered, it will be that blessing which pours like rain upon the thirsty soul, smoothing and washing away the corrosive acid of catalyst and offering the healing balm. Such a beautiful way to speak to what I think you're talking about, Elaine, which is really meaningful to me too. Life is really difficult. Life on third density Earth is difficult, especially late third density, and especially now, which is really, really, really late third density. Yeah, just knowing that that comfort that you can receive, that all is well, even though it looks really crazy, all is well and all will be well. Let's see,
Hmm.
if it's okay with you, panel, I would like to take a closer look at those particular angels known as archangels. I have a couple passages wanted to look at first. The first one is from February 9th, 2022. This question comes from Jonathan, who asks, my understanding is that of the four archangels, Raphael is associated with the gifts of air, Gabriel with water, Michael with fire, Ariel with earth, and that the archangel Raphael is associated with the compass direction we know as east, Gabriel with west, Ariel with north, and Michael with south. Would you please share with us some teachings on how to work harmoniously with the archangels and their associated elements and or compass directions in order to be more of service to others and to help our beloved planet Earth ease more gracefully into fourth density? Quo says, to speak to the point of the question, it is a large question in regards to how the various archangels may be utilized by the seeker of truth. For each seeker has a unique path to travel and may utilize each of the archangels in a certain fashion that may be unique to that seeker, although remaining within certain boundaries or guidelines, shall we say. As you look upon the one known as Raphael, you look upon one which works with the concept of air, the gifts and the powers of air. The air that is seen as being that active element which can inspire a seeker to move in a free form, shall we say, without the restrictions of gravity binding it to the earth. The air of the east, the direction of the rising sun, the direction in which life as you know it upon your planet Earth is seemingly or symbolically rising from the darkness of the night, the sleep, the forgetting. As Raphael empowers your journey of seeking at your request, then you may look upon the qualities of air in your life as being those which will take you upon a path that moves in response to the Creator within, seeking the Creator without and the world around one, so that there is an ambience of floating freely, being motivated by the concept of unity with all that you see and experience in your daily round of activities. As you move then to the Archangel Gabriel, that may be seen to be located in the realms of water, of fluid viscosity, of being imbued with the spirit that has gifts and powers of giving form to life, life within your beingness, which may be renewed, not only upon a daily basis, but moment by moment as you move through your daily round of activities, that you are able to utilize these gifts and powers of water in a manner which gives you more life, more ability to sustain, shall we say, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune that is the third density illusion. This life, then, you may share with those you meet in your daily round of activities, the life of love, the consciousness of love that is formed in such a way in your daily experience that allows you to share the love and light of the one infinite Creator with all that you meet as you implore or invoke this quality of fluidity and being imbued with the life from Gabriel. As you look to the south and are aware of the Archangel Michael with a sword pointed in the air as a symbol of fire, the fire of the one infinite creator that gives life to the universe around you. Those gifts and powers of fire are also more of what you would call intelligent, and that they are able to inspire higher and higher levels of apprehension of your own spiritual journey and the nature of the one creator that lives inside of you, inside of each person you shall meet, inside of all of the creation through which you travel, all of the creation which has the life of the one creator, enlivening it, inspiring it, and making available as the nature of your journey through the third density experience. This archangel is able to give to you the inspiration that causes you to become your highest self, that portion of your being that exists within the sixth density of the balancing of love and wisdom. Moving now to the north and the Archangel Ariel, you see this being as that which is of the earth that produces life upon your planet in rich abundance as it sows the seeds of intelligent energy within the ground around you, so that you are guided to become that type of being which is firmly rooted within the illusion of third density, in order that you may learn the lessons of polarization that give you the ability to make a choice in third density, the choice of how you shall spend the Creator's energies that flow through you, through your violet ray chakra, and move through all lower chakras and produce the manifestations of learning of mind, body, and spirit towards service to others or service to self. This choice is the fruit of the seeds of Ariel that you may call upon to help you in your choice of how to live your life, moment by moment, day by day, year by year, incarnation by incarnation, density by density, until at the final note, the final play upon the stage, you are one with the one infinite creator. There's one other short passage I wanted to add to this. This was from September 11th, 2010. Quo said, "You deal in a completely unified and interactive universe. That entire range of physics that includes the thought that the observer is part of the experiment infers the unity of all things. It is as if all of nature, from the elements and the powers to the plants and animals, to the very air you breathe and the water you drink, the fire that warms your heart and the earth under your feet, are dancing in rhythm, and you are either part of that dance and part of that rhythm, or you have not yet awakened to the true state within you, which you actually dwell in the creation of the Father. It is as a beloved part of the one creation that you come by this affinity for synchronicity." I really have had a really strong affection and affiliation for the archangels for a long time. This was actually my question. I am, in case you're wondering, the Jonathan who asked this question. I sent it in. They were nice enough to ask it. I've sent quite a few questions in, and I think they've selected maybe 3 or 4 of them to ask. And I did want to encourage anyone who has a question that they would like to ask of Quo. If you go to the LNL Research website, find the Connect tab at the top of the page, click that, and then select Contact Us from the drop-down menu. And you'll see the email at the bottom that you could send your question into. No guarantee that they're going to ask it. They generally don't ask questions related to specific people or events or things of a transient nature. They really go more for questions that are of enduring spiritual principles that are still going to be meaningful 100,000 millions of years from now. So appreciated the question, appreciated the response on the archangels. And yeah, I love all the different allusions to the elements and how they have been instrumental in the creation of the earth from first density all the way to the end. Dr. J, I believe you have some experience working with archangels. Care to share anything here?
Yeah, so I would say really it all started and began with the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And that first kind of acknowledgement in the law of one that really, again, deepened my research. And I think that, so it's probably at this point, it's been like 6 years now since I've been doing different types of Enochian magic, Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And you do really get to a point. So it makes me think about how they talk about that feeling of safety and protection, and how even when you vibrate the names, like, and I'm just kind of talking about within the ritual, as you vibrate the names, you get a sense of the feeling their vibration has as you start to pick up those subtle energies. You get the gist of how their energy differs, but the contribution the different energies makes to making you feel kind of not only safe, but banishing and ridding those energies that no longer are important to you, that no longer serve you, or are helpful at all. So I would say that experience of being able to not only look deeply but understand how they are related to each of the elements, and how all of the elements then come together to not only be where we are, but how it's just such a beautiful thing of how it all kind of fits together as you start really looking at all of the different pieces. So I'll just say that it with the different archangels, being able to experience it, and to feel the different energies, and how they differ has been really critical and helpful for me as I go about, like I did it this morning. So it is helpful. And then to overlay that with, I know in the last one, this was a thought, when they talked about like activating your higher self, and they talk about this in the law of one, of being able to kind of invite your higher self to your meditations, and you can actually do things to put that energy on. So even in the Golden Dawn, you would kind of, as Elaine mentioned about being wrapped up, you would basically kind of visualize your higher self, being imbued with your higher self. But then after you finish that meditative piece or your rituals, you want to make sure you take it off. Just like they mentioned in the law of one, where if it's a ring, you take off your ring, necklace, you take it off. That way you're not keeping on that energy and bringing it in particular times where it's not supposed to be. So being cognizant of time, I'll say that's it. And thank you for, again, allowing me to be here, because I'm having a blast.
Yeah, oh, how a blast having you here, indeed. Yeah, and all of those things that you talked about, there are some people who really do go deeper into ritual magic and others not as much. But the banishing ritual, which you mentioned, is something that anybody can do if you want to protect your space. I think it would be fair to say the archangels represent a higher order of angels, some of whose responsibility is looking out for this entire planet and all its people. So in the lesser banishing ritual, or the banishing ritual of the lesser pentagram, they do invoke these four archangels in the four cardinal directions to provide protection in that space. We will probably go deeper into that in another episode. For now, you can find directions on how to do the banishing ritual at the LML research page. I believe if you go to the part about the raw contact, there are a whole bunch of tabs below of different information related to that, and protection rituals is part of that. Elaine, anything to add?
Uh, I hadn't really studied very much about the archangels, but in reading about Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel, my daughter's name is Gabriella, and um, it's so interesting how I named her. I'll just tell it really quickly. I was at a park in the East Bay, and there was a huge expanse of grass. And I was just hanging out there, and I saw a tiny child, a little girl, and she was wearing a leopard design one-piece bathing suit. And she was just like wandering in the middle of this huge expanse of grass, and there were no adults with her. And I was like, what? Is this little girl lost or abandoned? So I went up to her and just got down and started asking her questions. And she said she was with her auntie. And I was like, well, where is she? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, we're going to find her. And I asked her name, and she said, Gabriella. And my heart just like opened up. I don't know what it was. Years later, I thought that was a little angel, and I had the thought in my head, I'm going to name my daughter Gabriella, and so I did. And um, the father of my daughter is a Pacific Islander, and his family grew up in the Philippines and on the island of Oahu. And so I always called my daughter my water baby, not really knowing that Gabrielle is the archangel of water. And I've always been very connected to the water. And so I just feel that I have like an affinity for that particular archangel and has been brought into my life in such a beautiful way.
Me too. Yeah, I was born
Yeah.
in the sign of Pisces, so water has always been something that has felt very special to me. I think I have a
Hmm.
couple passages relating more to Archangel Gabriel and water coming
Oh,
up
good.
shortly. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Diane, did you have anything you wanted to add?
This actually fascinates me that it came out this way with the cardinal directions, etc., because this is an automatic way I have prayed. I don't remember not praying like this.
Hmm.
And to, for me, it would very often is to get up in the morning and to face each direction. I'll play the flute, very often the Cherokee Morning song, because I like it and it's short. And my prayer, it would be facing me east, I play my flute, and then I will say, I honor the angels of the east. I honor the angels of the air. You had gave me my first breath and I felt life. My last breath, I will return home. And then I will return
Mm.
another side. And with water, it would be to honor the angels of the water, to honor the angels of the west. And it's all the same thing here. And I said, I'll be danged, this is real. I was making this stuff up. This is real. And it was just something I was doing because I was compelled
Mm.
to. Now I see archangels associated with it. For me, it was
Mm.
just honoring the angels of. And I realized I don't often call on archangels specifically because I feel too lowly. That who am I
Mm.
to go all that way up? I'm not going to direct up to my guardian angel and my highest self. But hey, if I can, I'm doing it. The quote says I can talk to Gabriel and Michael and Raphael, right? The only time I ever do that is every time I'm about to ride a motorcycle. Before I move, I will call in that archangel, Michael to thy right, left, Gabriel is to my left, Ariel is before me, Raphael is behind me to guide me, protect me as I ride. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is beautiful.
Diane, you have a motorcycle? Are you a biker mama?
Not semi-retired. I still belong
I
to
love it.
different groups, but I don't do the hard, fast riding anymore. I like the nice days and the good smells now.
Wow, that's cool.
Are you a biker, Mama Elaine?
My husband is a biker. What do they call them? He's my old man. He's
I
he's
get
he yeah, he's had many, 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 many motorcycles, and occasionally I'll get on the back, but we don't he doesn't take me on any freeways or anything. We just go in the beautiful hills out here and you know,
nice.
baby steps, but it's fun, it's beautiful. That's really cool, Diane, that you have ride a motorcycle.
Well, and
I
invoking
love
the
it.
archangels before you take a motorcycle trip
Yes.
sounds like a great idea. I think archangels, like all the other angels, they said they can help, but they will respect free will and not help if you don't ask. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at a couple passages? Yeah, Dr. J. Whoop, not hearing you. Your mic is
Oh,
not
I'm
muted.
sorry. I
Oh,
have
there
I
we
have
go.
muted because my allergies are messing up. But I just had a quick question that I wanted to maybe pose to the group and see what you all thought. So, especially as you just read, Jonathan, about the archangels, how you can utilize and the different energies, how they're associated with the different cardinal north, south, east, and west. It got me to thinking: do you all think that we may either reincarnate in different signs over the course of our lives to then maybe get a more fuller picture of the kind of the full energy. Because I think about this being the third life that I'm aware about here, but the other ones that I'm pretty sure maybe were associated with. So I'm a Taurus in this life, but I think we're associated with different types. So that was a question that I had: is do you all think that could maybe be possibly true, that we reincarnate in not only in different signs, but especially if we're on Earth, to then get a more fuller picture of the energy of the different archangels, especially as we know our importance in shifting towards fourth density?
Wow. What a great question. I mean, I have no idea, other than I know that our friends in the Confederation have said that we did all go through many incarnations, starting in first density all the way up to here. So at some point we were earth, air, and water, and fire. How much time we spent in each of those, and how much we would spend connecting to those and succeeding incarnations, I have no idea. But I do seem to understand that balancing is a big part of our journey, and that we do incarnate specifically to learn the things that we need to learn in order to become whole and balanced. So that would kind of suggest that you would tend to do some kind of incarnations to balance your energy between those four elements. But that's just my best guess. Yeah. Elaine, Diane, did you have any thoughts on that?
I think you're probably right about that, Dr. J and Jonathan. We experience everything. You know, if we are the creator and the creator is all, then we eventually will be experiencing all, which includes all. So yeah, but it's fun to think about that, because and to become hopefully aware of that while we're in this incarnation, that we truly have been and are of the air, of the water, of the earth, because and we are the planet as well. And I think if you have an understanding of this, or even just an inkling of it, you are the ocean, you are the rivers, you are the forest, that we would take better care of the planet, you know. So yeah, I think for sure we've had all of that experience, as well as, you know, being born in the different signs, which influence our personalities in our incarnations,
For sure.
which might give us a better understanding of all the other selves that we come into contact with.
That makes sense. Yeah. Diane, any thoughts? Anything to add?
Yeah, I rather think that when that we incarnate to a particular sign, that those energies will be more useful to the incarnation we just created. So whether we go through all 12 of them or not, that I don't know. Not that do I know anything, but but I do feel that it's purposeful when we are born. It is interesting because in past lives and all this, I remember being here, and that's a weird thing to experience. But it is so strong in me too. Now there are certain breezes that I was like, oh, I have to go outside, and I will run outside, and I will try to get into a state of as much love as I can and send it out. So, and I will ask as a grandfather, I know that as you calling me, send this around the world. Take these molecules of love and send them around the world now. And it's certain breezes,
Beautiful.
certain days, and it will call me to go outside and do that. So
Me too.
Wow.
I started doing this past summer, I think, after I learned that supposedly we are leaving the age of Pisces, which was associated with the element of water, and moving into the age of Aquarius, which I would have thought was associated with water, but apparently it's associated with the element of air, which means, yeah, air in particular is a very sacred element now, and that is Archangel Raphael's jurisdiction, I believe. So, yeah, I often too, when I feel a nice breeze, I'll ask Archangel Raphael to bless that wind and magnetize it with purest love, light of the one infinite creator, and to bless all it touches with that light and all the way around the world as that wind moves. It's a beautiful, I have no idea if it's doing anything, but I like to think it's doing something. Why
I
don't we?
know it
Yeah,
is. I know it is.
yeah. Like anything else, we take it on faith. Let's take a closer look at a couple passages in particular that are relating to Archangel Gabriel and the element of water and how we can work with them. On April 2nd, 2006, Quo said, "Water is that aspect or element of the creation which contains the sacred energies of the Archangel Gabriel. Water holds gifts and powers that move from the simplest physical observations to the most abstruse and occult applications of spiritual principles. But the central gift of water is its acceptance of the impressions of consciousness. Water can be magnetized to hold pure emotion. Consequently, water is a very magical element, a crystal that can be solid, liquid, or gaseous, and yet is a crystal in terms of the way that it can hold ideas, thoughts, and emotions. The intimacy of thought and water is very appropriate to consider as you look at your physical body. Your thoughts are impressing every cell of your body. You are a very watery being. A large percentage of your body is water. You are therefore a creature of the tides of your inner emotions. Be aware of how easy it is to magnetize water with an idea or a thought, or most importantly, an emotion. Tend your everyday self to thoughts of thankfulness, thanksgiving, praise, appreciation, and joy. Remember how powerful you really are and impress your own body with the fire of your love. Let that love do its healing and organizing work with your physical body." It would probably be worth noting at this point a particular person named Masaru Emoto, who I'm guessing many people watching this are familiar with. He is a researcher, author of several books claiming scientific evidence that formations of water crystals can indeed be influenced by our thoughts. And those are pictures that you're seeing on your screen of water that was supposedly imprinted with positive or negative thoughts and the shape of the crystals that formed as a result. Mr. Emoto, of course, is derided by the scientific community as a pseudoscientist who has not done experiments that have been reproduced by other scientists. So, like so much else in metaphysics, it remains to be taken on faith, I think, whether in fact that is true or not. But whether or not his experiments are true, it certainly does seem to affirm what Quo was saying in the passage here. So we'll take that for what it's worth. Elaine, any thoughts, reflections on this part?
Oh, I love the whole thing about water. And yeah, I have the book as well about the the crystallization from our thought forms into water. And when I can do it, before I water my plants, I put the water in a glass pitcher and hold it up to the sun and put, healing thoughts and my love into the water before I water them. And I have probably 100 plants or more. They're all doing really well, and I just believe that they really enjoy that, and I think of it as a fertilizer, it's and Quo has said your plants, your second density creatures, the love that you give them, they feel it, they know it, and they return it. And just like in one of the quotes that you read today, the very earth loves you so much. So I just, and the whole thing about, we are water, and it's just healing ourselves with our healing thoughts, loving ourselves. I just totally believe that that is absolutely why we are made of water. We can heal ourselves with our thoughts and crystallize every cell of our body.
Well
So
said.
yeah, it's beautiful.
It is super beautiful. Diane,
Mhm.
anything to add?
I bless everything anyway. When I cook, I bless the ingredients. If I'm using water, I bless the water. When it's done before I serve it or eat it, I bless it again. So yeah, I bless everything, especially water. And sometimes if I'm drinking water, I will magnetize the water. And
Mhm.
then as I'm drinking, I am drinking in peace. I am drinking in serenity. I am
Mm.
drinking in love. And that's because of Emoto. Actually,
Mhm.
after studying his stuff and reading his books, I gave everybody I knew his book for Christmas. And I went and got some plants, some herbs at a store, you like a potted chives, potted parsley, it was parsley. And I did an experiment and I actually was in contact with him, doing this
Wow.
pictures and stuff. And what I did was make sure they got exactly the same window, exactly the same, everything was exactly the same except one thing. When I would go to do this plant, which was started as dirt, you started with seeds, I'd get my water and I even used the same, made sure the water came from the same place. But I was saying, yeah, I'll give you water, you ugly little thing. I don't even know why I'm doing this. I don't even like you. And I would give them a measured amount of water. And the other one, I would measure out the water from the same source. And I would say, I'm giving this to you. I want you to grow. I know there's so much life in you, and I hope this little bit of water can help you. And that was that. And I kept doing this. And as they grew, and they both grew, fascinating as they grew, the one that I was loving grew so lush and so thick and so green and so beautiful. And the other one grew also very spindly, kind of brownish yellow, never quite got that beautiful greenery. And yeah, it
Mhm.
fascinated.
Mhm.
Did you
And then
give
I
it some
actually
loving after that?
no, yes. You know what
Yes.
happened? I felt so bad when
Yeah,
the
I
other
was gonna say,
over.
yeah.
I
What
mean,
a
it was
cruel
like,
experiment.
yeah, and it went on
Fantasy.
for months. So when I decided it was over and I had finished my correspondence with Dr. Mutter, I then apologized all over the place to the plant that I had disrespected. And I said, here's what I'm going to do. I've got beautiful gardens outside. I'm going to bring you out and I'm going to just sprinkle the dirt. Oh, so you are now going to be part of an even more beautiful garden. And I hope you forgive me, but thank you for your service.
It's funny.
Oh
Yeah, we
my
tried
gosh.
doing that with our
That's
two
so cool.
children, and yeah. A cool word.
Oh.
Dr. J, any good stories? Anything to
Oh well,
add?
no, I'm still I'm happy it ended well for that plant because I was like, you took us on the whole climax. I was like, what happened to the plant? Should we start sending it love and light now? But uh,
Yes.
It died.
happy.
Yeah.
The only thing that I wanted to mention, and I literally just bought this book, not probably like 2 weeks ago. It literally just once I saw it on the list, I'm like, this will be like my next read. But I was my one part I was gonna say is it's really so unfortunate as a person who has a research PhD that there's certain even the things that they would say in his book is pseudoscience, right? Because that bothers me. But even when you look at there's other avenues that is true because, like for example, I went to a wine tour in Lisbon, Portugal. I had some friends that got married, and there in Lisbon, Portugal, when we went on the wine tour, they actually would play the different wines, different music to see how it tasted. And they have this stuff, and they know that different music, whether it's hip hop, whether it's classical, whether it's rock, will actually change the flavor of the wine depending on what is actually being played. So these things are 100% true. So as I started to learn more about this, and us being, again, water beings, who's in my circle, what community am I in, what am I doing, what am I working, who am I around, what am I listening to, who's influencing me, and what vibrations do I have? And if they pull some of the water from my body, what is it going to look like? Is it going to be a wisdom high water supply, or is it going to be something that's of a lower vibration? So I do think, the message really becomes, who is our community? Who are we surrounding ourselves around? Because are these ones that are providing, like Diane, are they ones that are saying you're beautiful, or you don't deserve to be here? Or what type of energy are they putting into you? And that's one thing that I realized, that once I got from a place of, when I was running nightclubs and doing all of these different things, nothing was wrong with the people, but the environment I was in was not necessarily where I needed to be. And then once I got around a different vibration of people that started affecting my water body differently, then I started acting differently. And I started acting of a more high vibrational manner. So as I read all of this, and knowing that water magnetizes, it can hold thoughts, it can hold emotions, is who are the people that you're around? Who are the people who are feeding you energy, or you're giving energy to, and is in balance with the higher principles of water and what we're looking to do for the law of one.
So yeah, there's so many different ways you can practice this in your own life. And as they said, each person is unique and will use the archangels in ways that are unique to them. But for sure, when we eat our meals at home, Miriam and I usually say some sort of grace, some sort of thanks. And I usually make a point of thanking the earth, air, and the water and the fire that work together to make that food to nourish my physical body, and the four archangels for doing that. And just like I bless the wind, sometimes I'll bless the rain too. And we get a lot of rain in Seattle. So oftentimes when it's raining, I'll thank the rain, I'll thank the water, I'll thank Archangel Gabriel for that gift of water, and ask the rain to be blessed and magnetized with the purest love light of the one infinite creator, and ask that may be received by Mother Earth as the balm of Gilead, and bring healing wherever she is sore. May it be infused with the light of an infinite number of suns. It's just a nice thing to do. Always thinking of Mother Earth, always thinking of ways that we can help our beloved mother through this difficult time. If it's okay with you folks, I would like to take a different turn here and take a look at a few passages in which those of the Confederation of Planets in the service of the Infinite Creator have referred to themselves as the Confederation of Angels and Planets in the service of the Infinite Creator. In session 6, question 24 of the Raw Contact, Ross said that they were part of what they referred to as the Confederation of Planets in the service of the Infinite Creator, made up of about 500, they said, planetary consciousness complexes, social memory complexes, I assume is what they meant, from both within our galaxy and beyond. But there have been more than a few times when they have referred to themselves as the Confederation of Angels and Planets in service of the Infinite Creator. And I've got a few passages here that explain why that might be. Let's take a look. On September 26, 1993, Quo said, "We of the Confederation of Angels and Planets in the service of the Infinite Creator have been called the brothers and sisters of sorrow, for we were inspired to come to this planetary influence because of the great cry of pain and sorrow which you had been sending out during especially these past 200 years, and more especially the past 50. And on December 2nd, 1990, Quo said, "This instrument is provincial and archaic and requests that we use the term angels as we greet you. It increases her ability to channel and aids each of us in the other's polarization. We have found in this instrument no taint of personal bias in the worship of the Creator, but only in its usage of myth to focus upon the mystery. Consequently, we may say to you that we are those of the Confederation of Angels and planets in the service of the one infinite Creator, and so we shall attempt to address ourselves to this instrument. But we do not ask you to accept either our angel status or our extraterrestrial status. We care not. Think that we are of this instrument's mind alone, that would satisfy us, and it would satisfy this instrument. Interesting. And then on July 22nd, 1990, Quo said, "Do you think we would appeal to you as angels? Angels are passé. We learned many years ago to lose our wings and gain a planetary identity. We speak still the truth, and yet not all of the truth. So we are angels, and we are those who come from without your planet, adding planetary influences of our own. So it is we who most happily as a confederation choose this path of service, as guardians, as guides, as compassion and wisdom that can be reached for and achieved by faith, by listening within." And lastly, on October 17th, 1988, Quo said, "We have appeared as many, many things, including angels. We appear in thought alone at this time, and find that the mass of those who would seek our information prefer the, as this instrument would say, mythology of the spacecraft and the visitors from elsewhere to the equally valid manifestation in thought of the angels or the vision. Were we to appear as ourselves, those of the Confederation would look most variously, and we feel our impact upon your people is more proof against abuse of free will by our speaking through instruments such as this one, and using the most desired metaphors and images concerning our inner nature and function in order that we may aid the most entities. It matters not who entities think we are. We attempt to satisfy the need for otherness, mystery, and solemnity, and to indicate our polarity in a clear way. After that, our dependence is upon the relationship we may forge with a carefully tuned instrument, and in that way, by collaboration, we offer what humble gifts we have." Really, really fascinating. I love the idea that it really doesn't matter. You can think of us as angels. You can think of extraterrestrials from another planet. You could think of us as all just existing in the mind of the instrument. It really doesn't matter. But we came here to satisfy the need for otherness, the need for something outside of yourself, the sense of mystery and seriousness. I just find that fascinating, and I just love that Quo, you could think of Quo as an angel if you want, or you can think of Quo as some entity, planetary social memory complex from somewhere else. It really doesn't matter. The point is the teachings that they're sharing here, I mean, it could come from a fictional entity. Somebody could have just made the whole thing up, but they're still equally true and equally profound and equally loving. So I just really love that. Diane, any thoughts on anything here?
No, I think I love it. I love that they did go so far as to say, well, think of us as the Confederation of Angels and Planets in service of the one infinite Creator. Yep, that covers it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So funny. Yeah. Dr. J, anything to add?
I guess the only thing is that, you know, there's a lot of times a tension between beliefs just because we use different words, right? And I think about how Quo's like you said, I don't care if y'all call me angels or y'all call me extraterrestrials. It's pretty much the content and the message. And I think about like people who, family members, my family members who are so against certain things, but are perfectly fine with angels. But when I start asking about like, well, do you think angels are out in the universe, and very kind of specific questions that I know, it's like you can see where the tension is, all because of different language, but it's really all the same thing. So that would be my only thought about that. And I really like how Quo says, again, it doesn't really matter what you call us. Like, what are you doing and how are you receiving the information?
Indeed. Elaine, anything to add?
Yes. What Dr. J said, it's interesting because I have people close to me who say, I love the message, but I'm not so sure about the messenger. UFOs, ETs, come on. And I'm like, does it really matter? What is the most important thing is the message. So if that message is resonating with you, why does it matter how we've received the message, you know? But yeah, it is kind of unfortunate that the connotation around certain words like extraterrestrials has been kind of permeates our culture to where it sets up like an automatic barrier, you know, which is unfortunate because when you hear or see these words, it's just none of that matters. You know, it's just the message. It's just pure love, and you know
Yeah. Well,
what
I
it
mean,
is.
it reminds me of how many times I'm guessing that each of us have been very much influenced, shaped in the way we look at life, things we think or believe, influenced by something we saw on TV in a movie that was said, or something by a character who was really doesn't exist. It's just an actor who was playing a role, or a book, some fictional character in a book who just really made a big impact on our lives. And it didn't matter whether that entity actually exists or not in the way that we think about them, it still changed our lives. And I think maybe that's a good way to look at this too.
Yeah.
Just reminds me again, cannot be emphasized enough that every passage that we've looked at today came through this process of channeling. So all the words that we're looking at, the person who was saying those words, again, they had no idea what was going to come out of their mouth. They might have got some idea of maybe a couple words or a sentence at a time, or maybe some inkling of what the next sentence was going to be. But in terms of beyond that, they had no idea what words were coming out of their mouth. So wherever it's coming from, if you want to think of it
Hmm.
an extraterrestrial source, then that's great. It's just that, again, if you look at ETs as covered in the movies and TV shows, it's always like extraterrestrials are a scary, creepy, frightening thing who are coming here to attack the planet and enslave humanity. And well, as it turns out, there are some extraterrestrialities. That is exactly their agenda. That is exactly what they're here to do. But not these guys. Yeah, these guys are actually very angelic, and they're actually here to
That's
help
right.
us. And they are not creepy or scary. They're actually really beautiful and loving. And it's just
Hmm.
a funny way to go about life, holding all of that stuff in mind. Which is why it's nice to have other people we can have these conversations with. I did have one other passage that I wanted to look at. Are you guys okay with one more passage?
We
Sure.
are.
Please, yes, these are wonderful, Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. I have, as always, learned a lot from you guys. This passage was from Christmas Day, December 25th, 2010. Quo said, say a person asks us, what should I do? Should I go to Indiana or should I go to Colorado? We can, if we wish, look into the situation in Indiana, see the personnel involved there, see the connections through other incarnations, see the contacts made, and see a lot of different things having to do with Indiana. We can look at Colorado and see what the situation would be there. And we could offer an opinion as to which would be more effective move. Yet if we did so, we would be limiting the choices for that entity insofar as he obeyed us. In the most persuasive situation that we have found as members of the Confederation of Angels and Planets in the service of the infinite Creator, we found many thousands of years ago that it was an infringement upon the free will of those of planet Earth to appear among you so that there would be no doubt as to whether or not we were real. We found that were we to allow entities to see that we were quite real, they would then perhaps consider that we were more advanced beings than they, and consequently that they must listen to us. And in that case, we would be in the situation of those who were preachers or priests or rabbis or gurus and who are asking people to believe them and not do the work for themselves. And we found that we could not do that. that it pulled too much away from our polarity as service to other beings. Consequently, we have not appeared in physical form in your skies for many thousands of years. We realize that others have, those who are not so nice in their choices, those who specifically want to impose their will upon those of planet Earth. However, in order to retain our positivity, we long ago chose to avoid coming among your peoples and appearing to speak from on high, as it were, so that we would eliminate the matter of free will from what people thought. For would they not be forced to believe that those who were able to ride the deep space of your cosmos as you ride airplanes and were able to do other things that seem far beyond your abilities as human beings would be those to whom one must listen? We do not wish to put ourselves in the position of authority. We wish each entity to be his own authority, and we wish to support and encourage each entity as he becomes used to taking responsibility for himself and thinking for himself or herself or themselves. This is the role in which we see ourselves, and in this role, we find it a very persuasive value to hold the free will of each person high and not to do the work for that person, but to allow enough confusion to remain surrounding a choice point for that person that his choices are made in an authentic environment of free will. In such a way do we honor and respect you and know that each of you shall come to blooming and fruition in good time.
Mm.
Such a beautiful
Beautiful.
passage to close with, and the idea that unlike most every organized religion I know, they're really encouraging us to think for ourselves and not just listen to them as authorities. As surely they would. If they appeared out of the sky in saucers and landed, yeah, I am pretty sure that people would feel like, well, I guess we need to do whatever they say. So it's a really beautiful thing that I respect about these teachings. Dr. J, any thoughts on anything here?
I mean, no, not much. I think even when I read this, kind of to close, as you went over this and you think about like there's a reason that we don't have all the information. For one, this is not the density of understanding. But two, there has to be enough, as they say, confusion around a certain point, so we can actually be able to make a choice. And I think that is a beautiful thing because we're here at this time to learn as much as possible. So what are you learning if you automatically keep getting the answers to the test, or if you get answers to the test, you're not learning. So I know even as you read that, I even felt like a sense of solace and peace with certain things that I'm wanting answers to, that I feel are confusion, but it's the process. But also knowing that as I'm feeling confusion, that I got angels just sitting around the house that's just waiting to come downstairs to my office to help and lend a hand and be helpful. And that's such a beautiful thing, that you have a higher self that's looking out for you. That is an angelic being. You have these higher vibrational beings that are part of the Confederation, and these beings in the inner planes that are here to help you out, that you've probably been working with for many reincarnations. So in closing, I just think it's all beautiful to have all of this different help that's available. And a lot of times it's just us not only realizing that we need it and then just asking for it because it's there for us.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
That would certainly be one of the big takeaway lessons I would take away from this. Elaine, anything to add on this passage or other?
Yeah, just totally in agreement with Dr. J. It's like, they don't have to land on the planet to prove that they exist. And in fact, you know, they're like, just like you said, they're everywhere. They're within us. They're in the inner and outer planes. They're surrounding our planet. They're throughout the universe. And we have to come to a place of faith that they are there for us, and gratitude that they are there for us, so that we can access them, ask them for help. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, my earphone fell out. So sorry. We wouldn't be able to arrive at that faith if we didn't have that bit of confusion causing us to seek and to ask and to question. So, yeah, although Gosh, it would be so cool if we had a huge like UFO landing. I told my husband, I wish they'd land out here. I would run out there. But
Who
yeah,
knows?
but we don't need that. Okay. They're there and we know that. So anyway, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, and I think it would be fair to say any UFOs that we do see are probably not necessarily of a
Right.
positive nature, so they're
Darn.
welcome to stay out. That's fine.
Yeah, true.
Not a big fan of the disclosure movement. We'll save that for another episode.
Yeah.
Diane, anything to add?
Yeah, they're real. They're real, like you're real, like a blade of grass is real. They may not be in this particular body, but they exist. There are many, many species, many living beings throughout the universe, and they're real. And we're arguing over names. They're real. This is like cool. And you can access all this information. It's real. Seek and you shall find.
And such a beautiful message to remember, particularly at this Christmas time, at this particular nexus in space time and time space. I think you have pretty well gotten ahead of me, which is to the last part of our podcast, and that is to look at our takeaway lessons and look at where do we go from here, from everything that we've discussed over these last couple of hours. What are some perhaps takeaway lessons for us? And has been said, yeah, if you don't remember anything else from this or don't get anything else from this, but the understanding that angels are real and they're all around you would be a great thing to remember. And ask them to help you, because just like the prime directive in Star Trek, free will is everything and they will not violate free will. So they will not help you unless you ask for help. But yeah, remember, angels are always attracted by the degree to which you positively polarize in service to others. So if you have made that choice to be of service to others, which is kind of the whole point of third density, yeah, the degree to which you can vibrate in unconditional love for all, not just the people you already like, the people you have the hardest time with, to be able to love them as Jesus loved them unconditionally. That's the degree to which those angels are going to be attracted to you and are going to want to help you continue to do that, to help others. So work with those angels, work with the archangels, work with the nature divas, go out in nature, go out barefoot in the grass, love the rain, love the earth, love the fire and air and everything, and dance with them and they will dance with you. And lastly, Quo just might be an angel. The Confederation may well be angels. So you have many, many other entities helping you. Panelists, I'm going to ask you one last time if you had any last thoughts, last reflections, takeaways of your own before we have a little pop quiz. Elaine, anything?
Just that I'm just thank you so much, Jonathan and Dr. J and Diane, for this particular topic at this time in our on our planet and in our country right now. I think this is just so timely as people feel confused, upset, worried, that truly all is well, even though it doesn't appear, but you can get to that feeling with the help of your guides, your angels, whatever you want to call them. You can ask them to help you through this time and moving forward. And I think that this is something that we really, really need. So this podcast is disseminating that information, Jonathan, and I just am so grateful to be a part of it, and that you've done this. It's just so great. So thank you.
It's an
Yeah.
honor and a privilege and a joy, and thank you for being part of it, Elaine. Most definitely, I continue to learn a lot from you. And I know there's so many angels listening to us right now and watching this and watching the person who's watching this and cheering us all on, knowing and believing in us. And that's just a beautiful thing. Diane, any last thoughts, takeaways you'd like to share?
Yeah, if you've never talked to your angels, start doing it. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to go look up a biblical passage or anything like that. I get up in the morning and all right, guys, we're gonna have a great day. This is what we're gonna do. Is anybody? And sometimes the dancing is funny because I do dance with angels. Sometimes I will just have this wonderful feeling and I say, okay, let's all our energies merge and we'll start dancing. But anything, give them a name if you want. They don't, a rose by any other name is still a rose. They will respond. It's your intention that is the most important. And
I'm sure your angels love you, Diane. They must really, really love working with you. That's great.
although sometimes I think they're up there going, ooh, let's do this and see what she does.
Yeah. Let's try an experiment with her and see what happens. Yeah.
She'll understand.
Dr. J, any last thoughts, takeaways?
Well, it's funny, Diane, as you say that, like even as because I'll like in meditations, I'll bring my spiritual guidance system in, like my social memory complex and all these different things. And I'll kind of joke like, look, I ain't dealing with no junk from y'all today. So don't y'all even, don't y'all start with me. But the thing I'll just say is lastly, like Elaine, Diane, you all were absolutely phenomenal. I learned so much from you. Jonathan, thanks for not only putting this together, but even the text and that we went through, just even picking those particular things that we went over was absolutely phenomenal. So thank you for that. And then as like everyone always that they said that not only are angels are real, but they're there and they're willing to help. But you have to ask because their vibration is so high, they will not infringe upon free will. So know that they're there, but ask for their help. And you don't have to go through this long, like Diane said, you don't got to pick up all these books, and they're there. Intention is what matters. So focus on that.
Well said, indeed. They are our friends. And I know my angels must be very tolerant of me by now. Well, my friends, we have approached that time. It is time for a little pop quiz. Pop quizzes, of course, are what we like to do at the end of our podcast, just to add a little bit more light and levity to our otherwise serious discussions, and also to help bolster your knowledge of pop culture for when you have to talk to normal people. Since today's episode was about angels, it only seems fitting we should have a pop quiz about angels in pop culture. Today's pop quiz is going to be a little bit different, though. Today, I am going to give you a brief description of 8 different movies or TV shows that featured angels. Whoever is the first to correctly name that movie or TV show within 5 seconds gets the point. If you're watching this on video, you can say your answers out loud, see if you can do better than our panelists. As always, the points don't matter. If you had fun, you won. But if you got the high score, you probably had more fun than everybody else. Let's see how it goes. All right. So your first question. This 1946 classic Christmas film features an angel sent from heaven to help a desperately frustrated businessman by showing him what life would have been like if he had never existed. Name that movie.
It's
Just
a
shout it
wonderful
out.
life. It's a wonderful life.
Sounds good. Of course it is. Of course it is. I was hoping you'd get. If you didn't get this one, you're going to have a really hard time with the rest of these, I think. Yeah.
I'm about to have a hard time then.
If you had fun, you won. If you learned something new, you won.
Because I was thinking about the movie with Nicolas Cage, the one that Nicolas Cage was in, that was something like that. But
I was going to include that, but I left it out. I didn't think anybody would know that one. City of Angels. Yeah.
That's it.
With Nicolas Cage as an angel and Meg Ryan as a brain surgeon, I believe. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that one's not on the quiz. But if you got that one, I'm definitely impressed. Let's try another one. Yeah. Let's see, panelists, if you'll let me finish reading the question and then just go ahead and shout it out if you know the answer, that would be great. Your next one. This 1996 comedy fantasy movie starred John Travolta as a somewhat pudgy archangel with a taste for cigarettes and cookies.
Michael.
Nice. Well done.
Yep. Yep, that's a great one.
It was a good one. I did not think you guys would know that.
Yep.
That was a fun movie. Yeah. I believe he was kind of riding a wave of popularity after Pulp Fiction at that point. How about another one? This 1996 Christmas comedy drama film starred Denzel Washington as an angel sent to help Whitney Houston, playing the wife of a Baptist preacher trying to keep a struggling church from being sold to greedy real estate developers.
The Preacher's Wife.
Nice. Well done. Yes, indeed. Who could be a better angel than Denzel Washington? Oh, he's pretty good at playing good guys and bad guys, isn't he? Not every
Training Day, Gladiator.
Yeah. Haven't seen that one yet. Gotta check it out. Well done. I'm not keeping score. You guys will have to keep score for yourselves. Here is another one. This popular TV series from the 80s starred Michael Landon as a probationary angel sent back to Earth who teams up with a former police officer to help people. No?
I have a TV.
Highway to Heaven.
Oh.
Somebody watching on this video got that right. I heard him shouting at their screen. I never watched this, but I knew it was on TV, and it seemed to be pretty popular at the time, as I recall. Well, let's see how you do with this one. This popular TV series from the 90s starred Roma Downey as an angel and Della Reese as her supervisor, who bring messages from God to various people to help them as they reach a crossroads in their lives.
I thought it was just Angel.
Almost. Couple more words. You guys didn't watch TV in the 90s, did you?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have one.
Well, somebody watching this on video got it right, and that is Touched by an Angel.
Touched by an angel. Yeah.
Another great one that I never saw, but supposedly it was actually a really beautiful movie with really beautiful, inspiring messages that I think helped a lot of people. How about this one? This 1994 live-action Disney movie is about a young foster child who prays for a chance to have a family if the California Angels win the pennant and the Angels assigned to make that possible.
Angels in the Outfield.
Yes, very good.
Aww.
The outfield. Yeah. Starring Danny Glover as the coach of the California Angels, who were up to that point a really seriously losing team, who I believe is kind of puzzled, baffled at how they become pennant contenders. The boy, apparently, the actor who plays the little boy was none other than Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who went on to huge fame and Third Rock from the Sun and Inception and Looper and I don't know how many other great movies.
He's a wonderful actor.
He's a great actor. Seems like a good person, as far as I can tell. How about something a little more recent? This 2005 cult classic stars Keanu Reeves as an exorcist who sends demons trying to invade the Earth back to the netherworld. Also features Tilda Swinton as Gabriel, a half-breed angel turned human. Answer is Constantine.
Constantine.
Did you know that one?
Yeah, so I've seen the movie before. I couldn't think of the name, but I have seen that before.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was okay. I mean,
I like the machine gun with the cross on the
cross.
end. What's that?
You can see he has like a gun in the shape of a cross. So
I know.
know. Seeing that.
How can you not love that, right? Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That is hilarious. Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right, got one more for you. This Amazon Prime fantasy comedy TV series, which started in 2019, still running, was created by Neil Gaiman based on his and Terry Pratchett's 1990 novel of the same name. It follows various characters, all trying to either encourage or prevent an imminent Armageddon seen through the eyes of an angel and a demon. And the answer is Good Omens. Good Omens.
Oh.
Is that good?
I don't know. I've never watched it. I only write the quizzes. I don't watch this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just writing the quizzes. I've never seen it, but I've heard it's good. Neil Gaiman has wrote a lot of great books, and with Terry Pratchett, and seems to be a really wonderful person also. And I've heard the series is good, but I haven't watched it.
Oh, yes.
Did anybody get like 4 or more of these correct? I kind of had a feeling.
Especially the TV ones. I haven't had a TV for 30 years. I have one now because my husband has one, but yeah, didn't watch it.
Yeah. I kind of had a feeling that the panel would not necessarily do all that great on this, but whoever's watching on TV, if you got 5 or more of these correct, this pop quiz was for you. So thank you. Once again, you've squandered away another perfectly good 2 hours of your incarnation talking around with the Seattle Law of One study group. To the 10 or so people who are still watching at this point, thank you for being here, and thank you for everything. Panelists, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To all our friends at L&L Research, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. To all our guardian angels and spirit guides who are with us individually and collectively, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. And to whoever is watching this video in the near or distant future, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in service to others. We are sending you our love light, and we are receiving yours. Until next time, in the love and light of the one infinite creator, Adonai, namaste.